Welcome to Wisdom Matrix 1111. Today we'll explore 11 powerful lessons from flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. This book explores how true happiness and meaning are not found in external achievements or constant pleasure, but in the deep state of focused engagement that the author calls flow. A state where your mind becomes fully immersed in what you are doing and life begins to feel more clear, structured, and meaningful. Through these lessons, you'll discover how to take control of your consciousness, transform challenges into growth, and build a life that feels internally rich and purposeful. So let's begin. Lesson 1. Happiness comes from the quality of your inner experience. Happiness begins in a place most people rarely look: your inner experience. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi explains that happiness does not come from money, fame, comfort, or external success. It comes from how you experience each moment of your life. You can see this clearly in everyday reality. Two people may live in the same environment, work in similar conditions, and face the same challenges, yet one feels fulfilled and alive, while the other feels empty and dissatisfied. The difference is not in their external world. The difference is in how they organize their consciousness and direct their attention. When your attention is scattered, pulled by worries, distractions, and endless external demands, life begins to feel chaotic and exhausting. But when your attention is focused and your inner world is ordered, even simple moments can feel meaningful and satisfying. Your life is not shaped primarily by what happens to you, but by how you experience what happens to you. Happiness, therefore, is not something you chase in the outside world. It is something you cultivate by mastering your inner experience moment by moment. And once you begin to understand this, a quiet but powerful realization emerges. Your inner experience determines the quality of your life far more than external conditions ever will. Lesson 2. Flow is the state of optimal experience. Now, to explore this more deeply, let's first look at what flow really is. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi describes flow as the state of optimal experience, a mental state where you are completely absorbed in what you are doing. This is the moment when your mind and your actions move together in perfect harmony. Your focus becomes effortless. Distractions begin to fade away. Time feels different. Sometimes it moves faster, sometimes it slows down, and your awareness becomes fully connected to the present activity. You are no longer divided between thinking and doing. Action and awareness merge into a single smooth experience. Think about moments when you were deeply engaged in something you truly enjoyed, like playing music, cooking a meal, hiking in nature, working on a creative project, or learning something new just out of curiosity. In those moments, you were not thinking about rewards, recognition, or outcomes. You were simply immersed in the experience itself. And that is the beauty of flow. You are not working for reward. The activity itself becomes the reward. The joy comes from the doing, not from the result. The satisfaction comes from the experience, not from external approval. This is why flow feels so powerful and fulfilling, because in that state, your mind is fully alive, fully present, and fully engaged with life. And when more of your life is filled with these moments, something profound begins to happen. Life no longer feels like a constant struggle for future rewards. Instead, each moment of deep engagement becomes a source of meaning and satisfaction in itself. That is what makes flow the state of optimal experience, a state where living and enjoying life become the same thing. Lesson 3. Flow happens when challenge and skill are balanced. Now the question becomes, when does flow actually happen? Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi explains that flow does not appear randomly. It follows a very clear psychological principle. Flow happens when challenge and skill are balanced. When the task in front of you is challenging enough to stretch your ability, and at the same time your skill is developed enough to handle that challenge, your mind naturally enters a state of deep engagement. But when this balance is missing, the experience changes. If a task is too easy, your mind becomes bored. You lose interest, your attention drifts, and the activity feels empty. If a task is too difficult, anxiety begins to rise. You feel pressure, self-doubt appears, and the experience becomes stressful instead of enjoyable. But when challenge and skill meet at the right level, you become focused, engaged, and fully present. And this is where flow begins. This idea also explains something very important about life. Growth and enjoyment often happen at the same time. The moments that challenge you the most are often the moments that make you feel the most alive, because your mind is stretching, adapting, and rising to meet the demand of the situation. That is why meaningful work, learning, creating, and building something valuable often feel deeply satisfying even when they require effort. The real secret is not to avoid difficulty. The real secret is to continuously raise your level of challenge while improving your skill. When you do this, boredom disappears, anxiety becomes manageable, and life turns into a continuous process of growth and engagement. Step by step, challenge by challenge, skill by skill, you create more opportunities for flow to appear in your daily life. And in doing so, you transform effort into enjoyment and growth into fulfillment. Next, Lesson 4. Clear goals and immediate feedback create deep engagement. Now there is another important element that makes flow possible. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi explains that deep engagement does not happen in confusion or uncertainty. Flow requires structure, and that structure comes from clear goals and immediate feedback. You need to know what you are doing, and you need to know how well you are doing it. Clear goals give your mind direction. They tell you where to focus your energy and attention. Without clear goals, your effort becomes scattered and your concentration weakens. But when your goal is clear, your mind naturally locks into the task in front of you. At the same time, immediate feedback keeps your attention alive and active. It allows you to see progress, make adjustments, and stay connected to the activity. You are not guessing, you are responding, improving, and moving forward step by step. You can see this in many real-life situations. When you write with a clear message, your thoughts begin to organize themselves naturally. When you play music with a clear rhythm, your focus follows the flow of sound and timing. When you solve a problem with measurable progress, your mind stays engaged because each small step gives you feedback that you are moving closer to the solution. This combination of clear goals and immediate feedback creates a powerful mental environment. Your attention becomes steady, your actions become intentional, and your concentration deepens without force. The mind no longer wanders because it has something meaningful to hold on to. And this is the beauty of structure in flow. When goals are clear and feedback is present, deep concentration stops feeling like effort. It becomes a natural state of engagement where your mind works with clarity, precision, and purpose. In that state, focus becomes easier, progress becomes visible, and the experience itself becomes deeply satisfying. Lesson 5. Attention is your most valuable psychic energy. At the heart of flow, there is one powerful idea that changes the way you see your life. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi describes attention as psychic energy, the most valuable resource you possess. Because wherever your attention goes, your experience follows. What you consistently pay attention to begins to shape your thoughts. Those thoughts shape your emotions, and over time, those emotions and thoughts begin to shape the direction of your life. This means your reality is not only built by external events, but by the way you direct your attention toward those events. When your attention is scattered across worries, distractions, social noise, and endless mental chatter, your inner world starts to feel chaotic. You feel overwhelmed, restless, and dissatisfied, even when nothing is seriously wrong in your external environment. But when your attention is focused and intentional, something different begins to happen. Your mind becomes clearer and more organized. Your emotions settle and stabilize. Your actions carry more meaning, and your daily experience starts to feel more structured and purposeful. This is why attention is so powerful. It quietly shapes the quality of every moment you live. In many ways, your life is the sum of what you consistently pay attention to. Not what you occasionally think about, but what you repeatedly focus on day after day. And this leads to a profound realization. Mastering your attention is essentially mastering your experience of life. Because when you learn to direct your psychic energy toward meaningful activities, constructive thoughts, and purposeful goals, you begin to take control of your inner world. And once your inner world becomes ordered and focused, your outer life naturally begins to feel more meaningful, more satisfying, and more deeply lived. Lesson 6. Enjoyment requires effort, not passive consumption. Another powerful insight from flow is that true enjoyment requires effort, not passive consumption. In his research, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi discovered something that may seem surprising at first. Passive pleasure rarely creates deep happiness. Endless entertainment, comfort, and easy stimulation may feel enjoyable in the moment, but they often leave you feeling empty afterward, because passive pleasure doesn't challenge your mind and it doesn't develop your potential. Real enjoyment works differently. It comes from effort. It comes from developing skill. It comes from deep involvement in what you are doing. It comes from creativity and growth. In other words, enjoyment is not something you receive, it is something you create through engagement. Watching something is easy. Creating something is meaningful. This is why you often feel more satisfied after learning something new, building something valuable, creating a piece of work, or solving a difficult problem. Even though these activities require effort, they leave a deeper sense of fulfillment. Your mind feels alive because it has been challenged. Your energy feels meaningful because it has been used for growth, and your experience feels richer because you actively participated in it. On the other hand, spending the whole day consuming entertainment may feel comfortable, but it rarely creates lasting satisfaction, because without effort, the mind slowly loses engagement, and without engagement, the experience becomes shallow. This is the quiet truth behind real enjoyment. Effort is not the enemy of happiness. Effort is the pathway to meaningful experience. When you invest your energy into learning, building, creating, and solving problems, you transform ordinary time into valuable experience. And over time, this effortful engagement creates something much deeper than temporary pleasure. It creates lasting satisfaction and a stronger sense of being fully alive. Lesson 7. Flow can be found even in difficult or ordinary situations. Flow is not dependent on perfect conditions. Many people believe that they can only feel fulfilled when life becomes easier, when work improves, when stress disappears, or when circumstances become more comfortable. But in his research, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi discovered something very different. Flow can exist even in hard jobs, difficult environments, and stressful situations. Some people are able to find deep engagement and satisfaction even in challenging conditions, not because their lives are easy, but because they transform challenges into opportunities for mastery. They focus on improving their skills. They look for meaning in their tasks. They treat difficulties as problems to solve rather than obstacles to complain about. And through this mindset, ordinary or even difficult situations become engaging and purposeful. This changes the way you see fulfillment. You no longer wait for perfect conditions. You no longer depend on an ideal environment. You no longer postpone happiness until life becomes comfortable. Instead, you begin to understand something empowering. You don't need a perfect life to experience fulfillment. What you truly need is the ability to turn experience into meaningful engagement. When you approach challenges with curiosity, focus, and a desire to grow, even simple or difficult tasks can lead you into flow. Work starts to feel like a journey of mastery. Challenges help you grow stronger and more capable, and ordinary moments reveal deeper awareness, meaning, and purpose. This is the quiet power of flow. Fulfillment is not found in perfect conditions. It is created by the way you engage with the conditions you already have. And once you embrace this truth, every situation in life becomes a potential doorway to meaningful experience. Moving on to Lesson 8. Control of consciousness creates inner freedom. True freedom begins inside your consciousness. Many people believe that freedom comes from external independence, having money, having time, having control over circumstances, or living without restrictions. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi presents a deeper and more powerful perspective. Real freedom does not come from controlling the outside world. Real freedom comes from controlling your consciousness. No matter where you are or what situation you face, your inner experience is shaped by your thoughts and attention. When your mind is uncontrolled, external events easily take over your emotional state. Stress creates fear. Distractions pull your attention in every direction. Small problems feel overwhelming, and your inner world becomes unstable. But when you begin to control your consciousness, fear starts to lose its grip. Distractions lose their power over your attention. Your emotions become more stable and balanced, and your focus becomes stronger and more intentional. You are no longer reacting automatically to everything happening around you. Instead, you begin to respond with awareness and clarity. This creates a powerful psychological shift. External events may still happen. Challenges may still appear, uncertainty may still exist, but your inner world remains steady and directed. And this is what true psychological freedom looks like. You are no longer controlled by external conditions because your consciousness is organized and under your guidance. Your thoughts begin to move with intention. Your attention grows steady and disciplined. Your experience comes under your conscious direction. In this state, freedom is no longer something you wait for in the future. It becomes something you live in the present, a quiet inner freedom that comes from mastering your consciousness and shaping your experience of life from within. Lesson 9. Turning chaos into flow and building the autotelic self. One of the most fascinating ideas in flow is that fulfillment doesn't disappear in difficult situations. In many cases, it is actually built in the middle of chaos, stress, and uncertainty. Life is not always calm or comfortable. There are moments of pressure, loneliness, unexpected problems, and even tragedy. Yet some people manage to remain focused, resilient, and mentally strong, even in these conditions. The difference lies in how they organize their consciousness. Instead of being overwhelmed by chaos, they learn to work with it. Instead of collapsing under stress, they transform it into structured experience and meaningful action. This ability appears in several forms throughout life. Sometimes it shows itself in solitude. Many people feel uncomfortable when they are alone because their attention has no external structure. Without distractions, the mind can drift into boredom, anxiety, or restlessness. But those who understand flow learn to enjoy solitude. They use quiet moments to reflect, learn, create, and organize their thoughts. Solitude becomes a space for clarity rather than discomfort, a space where attention can move freely and consciously without constant external noise. Another powerful idea in the book is what Csikszentmihalyi calls cheating chaos. This does not mean avoiding difficulty, but learning how to bring order into confusing or stressful situations. Even when circumstances are unpredictable, the mind can still focus on meaningful goals, small achievable tasks, and constructive action. By doing this, chaos loses some of its power. Stress becomes manageable, uncertainty becomes a challenge rather than a threat, and experience regains structure and direction. The same principle applies to tragedy and hardship. Some individuals go through extremely difficult experiences, loss, illness, failure, or crisis, yet they manage to transform these experiences into growth and deeper understanding. They do not deny pain, but they refuse to let it destroy their sense of purpose. Instead, they reorganize their attention around learning, resilience, and meaningful engagement with life. This ability to transform adversity is closely connected to coping with stress. Stress itself is not always destructive. In many situations, stress is simply a signal that challenges exceed current skills. When approached with awareness and structure, it can push you to grow, adapt, and strengthen your mental capacity. What matters is not the presence of stress, but how consciousness responds to it. One of the most profound concepts in this part of the book is the power of dissipative structures. In simple terms, systems grow stronger when they reorganize themselves under pressure. Just like complex natural systems evolve through instability, human consciousness can also become more organized and resilient when facing challenges. Pressure doesn't always destroy structure. Sometimes it forces the creation of a better one. This leads to the development of what Csikszentmihalyi calls the autotelic self. An autotelic person does not depend entirely on external rewards or perfect conditions to feel fulfilled. They are able to find meaning and engagement in almost any situation because their attention is disciplined, their goals are clear, and their inner world remains organized. They can enjoy solitude, handle stress, transform chaos, and continue moving forward even in difficult circumstances. Their motivation comes from within. They seek challenges naturally. They remain curious about life. They stay engaged with experience even when things are not easy. Because of this, their sense of fulfillment becomes more stable and less dependent on external conditions. In many ways, the autotelic self represents the highest level of psychological development in flow. It's the ability to maintain focus in chaos, find meaning in difficulty, and transform everyday experience into growth and purposeful engagement. Instead of waiting for ideal circumstances, you learn to create order within yourself and bring structure to whatever life presents. And when this ability develops, even challenging situations can turn into opportunities for flow, growth, and deeper understanding of life. Lesson 10. Relationships and social interactions can also create flow. Flow is often associated with individual activities like writing, studying, working, or creating something alone. But in reality, some of the most powerful flow experiences happen in the presence of other people. Think about those moments when you are fully engaged in a meaningful conversation. Time seems to move differently. Your attention stays naturally focused. Ideas flow smoothly between you and the other person, and there is a sense of genuine connection that feels effortless and alive. This is social flow. It appears when people share attention, move toward a common goal, or simply remain fully present with one another. Instead of distraction or surface-level interaction, communication begins to carry depth and clarity. In these moments, you are not just talking, you are truly listening, not just responding, but understanding. Something subtle starts to change in the quality of the interaction. Conversations feel more engaging and meaningful. Collaboration starts to feel energizing rather than exhausting. The focus shifts from individual effort to shared experience. As Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi suggests, social interactions can reach a state of flow when attention, goals, and feedback are aligned between individuals. When this alignment happens, communication becomes more natural, and relationships gain a deeper level of harmony and understanding. You begin to experience what genuine presence with others really feels like. There is less tension, less forced interaction, and less mental noise. Instead, there is attentiveness, openness, and a quiet sense of connection that allows human relationships to grow in a meaningful direction. Collaboration also takes on a different quality in this state. It is no longer just about completing tasks or reaching deadlines. It starts to feel like a shared creative process where ideas move freely, support flows naturally, and progress happens with less resistance. In this way, flow transforms ordinary social interaction into something richer and more human. Friendships deepen, family interactions feel warmer and more supportive, teamwork becomes more effective and fulfilling. Over time, these shared flow experiences build stronger relationships and more meaningful human connections. Ultimately, flow is not only about personal growth, it's also about the quality of connection you create with others. When attention is shared and presence is real, even simple interactions can turn into powerful and meaningful human experiences. Finally, Lesson 11. A meaningful life is built by organizing flow around a life purpose. Flow experiences bring moments of clarity, engagement, and fulfillment, but their deepest value appears when they are no longer isolated moments and instead begin to form a coherent direction in your life. A few hours of focused work can feel rewarding, a meaningful conversation can feel enriching, a challenging project can bring satisfaction. Yet when these experiences are connected to a larger purpose, something much more powerful starts to emerge. Daily actions begin to align with long-term meaning. You are no longer just completing tasks or staying busy. You start moving towards something that reflects your values, your goals, and the direction you want your life to take. This is where flow reaches its highest level. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi explains that a truly fulfilling life is built by organizing experiences around a central purpose that gives coherence and unity to everything you do. When your efforts are no longer scattered or disconnected, your energy begins to move in one meaningful direction. Work gains a deeper sense of importance because it contributes to something valuable. Effort feels lighter because it serves a clear intention. Challenges no longer feel like obstacles alone. They become part of a meaningful journey. Over time, life starts to feel more integrated and structured. Your choices reflect your priorities. Your attention follows what truly matters. Your daily experience forms a consistent pattern that supports growth, contribution, and fulfillment. This creates what Csikszentmihalyi describes as a unified and meaningful life structure, a life where inner experience, action, and purpose move in harmony. Instead of constantly searching for happiness, you begin to experience meaning through the way you live each day. Flow is no longer just a temporary state that appears during certain activities. It becomes part of your lifestyle, part of your mindset, and part of the way you approach the world. You choose meaningful challenges. You invest attention in what truly matters. You organize your time and energy around a purpose that gives direction to your life. And gradually, fulfillment stops being something distant or abstract. It becomes something you experience in the present, through focused action, meaningful engagement, and purposeful living. In this way, flow transforms from a momentary experience into a life philosophy, a way of living with clarity, direction, and intention. A meaningful life is not built in a single moment of happiness. It is built through consistent flow experiences that are guided by purpose and aligned with what truly matters to you. So there you have it, 11 powerful lessons from flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Remember, flow is not just a psychological concept. It is a way of living with awareness, discipline, and intention in the present moment. A meaningful life is not created by chasing pleasure or waiting for perfect conditions. It is shaped by how you direct your attention, how you engage with challenges, and how you bring order and purpose into your inner world. It is created by entering the flow of life, one focused and purposeful moment at a time. When you learn to direct your consciousness and live with intention, you begin to create a life of flow, meaning, and inner freedom. Thank you for tuning in to Wisdom Matrix 1111. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring content. Until next time, keep walking your path with awareness, purpose, and flow. Peace.